Today I'm going to show you how to diagnose a mass airflow issue on your E39 540. So like pretty much everyone else who drives a 20-year-old vehicle, I am very familiar with the check engine light, and this time I am getting code P0102, which is a problem with the mass airflow sensor. It is running a low voltage number, which means there's a problem with it and we need to figure it out. The symptoms I'm getting for the car is it will start perfectly fine and instantly die. It'll instantly stall out and die. If I start the car and give it some throttle, I can keep the car alive, which to me said vacuum leak. As the airflow picked up, the car worked perfectly fine. It was only when it was trying to idle that it struggled. So even when the car got warm, it would still struggle a little bit. Eventually, I could ease it back down and it would idle on its own. But for the most part, I was always driving with 2 feet as I approached stop signs or stoplights or whatever, where I'd be braking with 1 foot and keeping the engine alive with the other. So I tried and tried and tried, searched for vacuum leaks. I was spraying around the intake. I was spraying around the throttle body. I was spraying along anywhere that I possibly could on the intake manifold, trying to find possible vacuum leaks, thinking that the mass airflow sensor was fine, because as I accelerated, if I was cruising on the highway, it drove perfectly fine, 0 issues. I had no problems at cruising speeds. It was only stalling at idle, so I thought it was a vacuum leak. I finally gave up on vacuum leak and really started focusing on the MAF. One really interesting feature of these cars is it can run without the mass airflow sensor. It was crazy to me and I was very skeptical the first time I tried it. So what you do, and I am going to show you right now, you can disconnect the mass airflow sensor and start the car and it'll run. It just goes to a base map. It's not going to be as efficient. It's not a good idea to run on that for long, but you can drive the car like that. I drove it for 50 miles like that. After that 50 miles of perfect driving, that was when I decided I need to buy a new mass airflow sensor, install that, and see if that fixes the problem. Completely disconnected. And it's worth noting, do not disconnect the mass airflow sensor while the car is running. This will only work if it starts disconnected. So as you can see, the car is running perfectly fine, no mass airflow sensor. It stumbled a little bit on startup because the car had to figure out that the MAF was disconnected and then decide to run on that base map. So it took it just a second to kind of figure that out, and now it runs perfectly fine. So do not reconnect it or disconnect it while the car is running. You can only do it when the car is off. So I'm gonna go turn the car off and hook my MAF back up. So as you can see, the car runs perfectly fine without a mass airflow sensor. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it back up, just so I don't forget. But that is a great way to diagnose any MAF problems. If you're having a problem, you think it's the MAF, you disconnect the MAF and start the car and it runs perfectly fine without it, that's probably your problem. So you need to get a new mass airflow sensor. On these BMWs, which is different for any of the other cars I've ever had, you buy this whole housing. So it comes with this tube and everything installed. These are some tamper-proof screws. You just buy the whole housing, swap the whole housing out. It's really easy. So once I decided it was not a vacuum leak and it was a MAF problem, I went ahead and ordered a MAF. I got it from ECS Tuning, like I do pretty much all my other BMW parts. I went ahead and got the Bosch unit because it really wasn't that much more expensive than the off-brands that I didn't recognize. And because it's such an important part and I should only have to buy it once while I own the car, went ahead and got this one. So this is what you get. You've got your new mass airflow sensor here. Comes with these nice little covers, and you can see it's got these tamper-proof screws. There's a good shot of the tamper-proof screw. You can see how it's not designed for regular bits. So what they want is you just buy this whole housing, leave the sensor in there, and replace it as a unit. You can't even buy just the sensor, you have to buy the housing. Just like swapping in the carbon fiber intake, it's very simple. All you have to do is disconnect the 2 clips from the airbox and disconnect the band clamp over here, slide the top of the airbox out of the way and put this in. It's really not a difficult install at all. So let's go get this on the car, install it, let the engine run, and see if our check engine light clears. So it's the following morning, driving to work. We've got our MAF installed and the check engine light is gone and has not come back on. But here is the real proof as we come up to a stop sign. And I come up to a stop. I'm not using the other pedal. And look at that, it's idling like normal. I can pull away, no issues. So we fixed it. So if you're having any sort of MAF issue, just go ahead and test it by unplugging your MAF, trying to drive the car around. If that fixes the problem, then you know it's 99% of the time going to be the MAF. If for whatever reason you unplug it and the car still runs like it did before, then, well, it's not your problem. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week.